There comes a moment in life, not always loud or dramatic, but often quiet and unsettling, when the outer world no longer satisfies. You look around at everything you've built, everything you chased, and suddenly it feels empty. It's not depression, it's not failure. It's something deeper. It's a message from the soul. Carl Jung called this the moment when the self begins to whisper. It's not interested in your job title, your possessions, or your polished mask. It wants truth. It wants wholeness. Most people fear this moment. They numb it with distractions, more work, more noise, more scrolling. But those who listen, who allow the discomfort to bloom, step onto a different path, the inner path. This journey does not begin with answers. It begins with questions. Who am I beneath my name? What have I buried to survive? What parts of me did I exile just to be accepted? To truly heal, to become untouchable in the deepest sense, is not about building walls. It's about integration. And integration requires confrontation with our shadow, with our wounds, with the stories we told ourselves to keep from falling apart. The shadow's invitation. We all wear masks, not out of deceit, but out of necessity. As children, we learn quickly which parts of us are welcomed and which are rejected. We adjust, we conform, we become good, but the parts we hide don't disappear. They wait. Jung called this hidden realm the shadow. It holds our anger, our fear, our shame, but also our wildness, our creativity, our power. The shadow isn't evil. It's unlived life. To meet the shadow is to meet the parts of yourself you've avoided, and it's terrifying. It can show up as envy, sudden rage, or crippling self-doubt. Not because you're broken, but because you're being asked to reclaim what was lost. The path to becoming whole runs straight through the terrain of the shadow. You don't fight it. You don't silence it. You sit with it. You learn its language. You let it teach you where you've been false, where you've betrayed your own essence to be loved or safe. Only by integrating the shadow can you stop being ruled by it. You become conscious. You gain choice. And slowly what once hurt you begins to lose its grip. Not because life becomes easy, but because you're no longer at war with yourself. The inner marriage. Once the shadow is acknowledged, not defeated but embraced, you begin to feel something shift. You're no longer split in two. You're no longer just the person you perform for the world. You're becoming something deeper, a union of opposites. Jung called this the inner marriage, the coming together of the masculine and feminine within. Not about gender, but about energy. The masculine, focused, clear, directional. The feminine, intuitive, receptive, nurturing. In most of us, one dominates while the other is repressed. But healing happens when both begin to dance together. When action is balanced with reflection. When strength walks hand in hand with vulnerability. When discipline is softened by compassion. This inner union doesn't make you perfect. It makes you real. You stop chasing someone else to complete you. You stop projecting your unlived qualities onto others. You become enough for yourself, not in isolation, but in authenticity. And in that wholeness, you find freedom. The call of the self. Once the inner marriage begins, something ancient and silent stirs deep within you. It's what Jung called the self, not the ego, not the mask, but the center of your being. It has always been there, waiting for your attention. The self doesn't speak in words. It moves in dreams, symbols, strange longings. It doesn't demand, it invites. And once you begin to hear its whisper, you realize this isn't about fixing your wounds. It's about remembering who you were before the wounds. The self calls you beyond roles, beyond success, beyond what others expect. It calls you toward your path, not a perfect one, but a true one. You might lose people, you might disappoint the world, but you won't betray yourself. This is not a comfortable journey. It requires death, the death of illusions, false identities, attachments to what you thought life was. But in that death, something greater is born. You stop chasing approval, you stop fearing loneliness, you begin to walk your path with quiet certainty, not because you have all the answers, but because you're finally listening to yourself. Nothing can hurt you anymore. There comes a moment, quiet, unannounced, when you realize that what once broke you no longer holds power over you. Not because life stopped being painful, not because others changed, but because you changed. You no longer look at life through the eyes of a wounded child begging to be loved. You see through the game now. You recognize the patterns, the push and pull, the masks, the projections. And instead of reacting, you observe. You respond from presence. You move with clarity. The people who once triggered you, you feel compassion now, or indifference. The fears that once paralyzed you, they lose their grip. This is not numbness. This is not apathy. This is strength rooted in self-awareness. You've made peace with your past. You've befriended your shadows. You've honored your pain without letting it define you. And so nothing and nobody can truly hurt you anymore. Not because you're invincible, but because you've stopped abandoning yourself. You are home now, in yourself. And that is the safest place you can ever be. The wound was the door. All your life, you thought the pain was the problem. You tried to escape it, bury it, deny it, thinking healing meant erasing the wound. But the wound was never your enemy. It was the invitation. The pain wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to wake you up, to crack open the shell of who you thought you had to be. It showed you where you were still asleep, still trapped in the roles others assigned to you. And when you stopped resisting, when you turned toward the wound instead of away from it, you found something unexpected, a deeper self, a truer voice, a quieter strength. The wound became the doorway, and walking through it, you met the version of yourself you were always meant to become. Not perfect, not untouchable, but real, whole, alive. And that's the beginning of real power, the kind no one can take away from you. You spent years thinking something was wrong with you. Maybe it was the way you loved too much, felt too deeply, needed things others said you shouldn't need. You learned to call it weakness, flaws, damage, but none of it was ever brokenness. What looked like damage was sensitivity. What looked like weakness was the seed of wisdom. What looked like need was the longing for wholeness. The world tried to fix you, shape you, shrink you, but your soul wasn't made for smallness. It was made to stretch, to stumble, to bloom through cracks. You weren't broken, you were buried under shame, silence, and expectation. And now as you rise piece by piece, you see it clearly. You were always whole. You just forgot. We've been told strength is hard. It clenches its fists. It never cries. It conquers. But real strength whispers. It listens. It lets go. True power isn't about control. It's about presence. It's not how loud you roar, but how deeply you remain grounded when everything trembles. You don't need to fight life. You need to meet it. You don't need to prove your worth. You need to feel it pulsing quietly inside your chest. The softest parts of you, your tenderness, your grief, your awe, they are not signs of weakness, they are sacred. The world may call them fragile, but they are the essence of soul. So be soft. That's where the strongest light shines through the end of pretending. One day, pretending won't work anymore. You won't be able to fake the smile, to say, I'm fine when you're not, to chase things that never mattered to your heart. That day, everything false will start to fall away. The masks, the roles, the people who only loved the version of you that wasn't real. It will hurt, like skin shedding, but underneath, something alive will breathe for the first time. You'll see clearly. You don't have to impress. You don't have to earn your place. You only have to return to yourself. The world may not applaud this version of you, but your soul will, and that will be enough. The power of letting go. At some point, you'll stop chasing what keeps breaking you. Not because you stopped caring, but because your spirit finally said, enough. You'll release the need to explain yourself, to prove your worth, to beg for what never truly saw you. This isn't defeat, it's rising. It's learning that silence can be louder than argument, and walking away can be louder than staying. You'll learn that peace isn't found in fixing others. It's found in freeing yourself. And the day you stop running after what was never meant for you, that's the day life begins to run toward you. The wound becomes the gate. There comes a moment when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and instead whisper, "What is it trying to show me?" Because pain, when met with courage, becomes a mirror, revealing what you've ignored, what you've denied, and what you're truly capable of surviving. The wound doesn't just hurt, it opens. And in that opening, something ancient awakens, a part of you that remembers how to heal, not by pretending it didn't happen, but by letting it reshape you into someone more real. The very scar you once hid becomes the mark of your becoming.